I want to give a special shout out to all my patrons first. Thank you so much to my Bibliospren, Bibliohowlers, and my Bibliomancers. It means a lot to me that you give me your extra support for my passion and hobby. Hi everyone, it has been quite a while because today's video is not a film by Petrik, but it is by Salty Petrik. Yes, in today's video I will be talking about this thing that has been bothering me for quite a few days. And this isn't actually the first time I encountered something like this, but because this topic just came up recently and I just want to talk about it. I got plenty of messages about it as well on Instagram. So recently, just for context here, Sarah J. Maas just revealed the cover art to the third book of her Crescent City series. The title of that book is House of Flame and Shadow. The cover reveal, there is nothing wrong with that. I am not here to rant about the cover art, but I am here to rant about the pre-order bonus. So here's the thing, House of Flame and Shadow is not out until January 2024. That's still 6 months from now. But Sarah J. Maas and also the publisher have announced that there will be an exclusive chapter separated across 5 exclusive editions. Do note that these are not special editions. These are called exclusive editions only because each one of these editions has one special chapter. For example, for the US exclusive editions, Barnes & Nobles will contain a special chapter revolving around Bryce and Hunt, Books A Million for Amber and Randall, indie bookstores for Bryce and Danica, and then Target for Rune and Linda, and finally Walmart for Bryce, Nesta, and Azriel. And then there's also a Canadian exclusive edition which will contain the bonus scene of Amber and Randall, just like the one for Books A Million, or the UK exclusive edition which will contain Bryce and Hunt, just like the one features on Barnes & Nobles. I am not a fan of this kind of business practice, especially because this book is not even out yet until January 2024. It's like the publishers is right in your face saying that, you know what, we have all these chapters, but we will not release all of them to you. You have to buy 5 of the same kind of edition in order for you to get them all. And this is just insane. Now, full disclosure, I am not a fan of Sarah J. Maas. I haven't been a fan of her books at all. Her writing and storytelling is just not for me, but the thing is, I will do this kind of video if any of my favorite authors in adult fantasy do the same thing. If, let's say, Brandon Sanderson or maybe Joe Abercrombie do the same kind of thing, I will make this kind of video too. I am not a fan of this kind of business practice that has been established in many other entertainment like video games and more. Doing this kind of business practice is just pretty much screaming right in your face. The publishers are screaming right in your face, we are greedy, we know this, and we know you cannot resist this, to the fans of this series. And I do not think I can stand by this. It's just insane. Sarah J. Maas is already one of the most successful fantasy authors. I know that a lot of adult fantasy readers like to mock her books, but you know, when we're speaking about sales as successful, she is one of the most successful fantasy authors. You cannot deny that. And I think that's why this kind of business practice is even worse. In order for you to experience the whole stories, I assume these 5 chapters will amount to maybe 80 to or 100 pages. That is enough for a novella containing all of these bonus chapters. That's enough. And if you want to do that, that's totally okay. But doing this, separating it across 5 special editions, for now, I assume there will be more eventually, is just cash grab. It is house of cash and grab. There have been many sayings that we all have different tastes in books. We all have different tastes in food. Yeah, they're kind of correlated, okay? There are some food that we each individual love. There are some food that we just cannot like. For example, I love ramen. Some readers might not like ramen. If we're applying this to food, it's like in order for you to get the whole taste of the food that you ordered, you have to pay more for the seasonings. You want salt, then you have to pay more. You want sugar, you have to pay more. It's something like that. You cannot get the whole package in one book, in one purchases. This is what's happening with Sarah J. Maas' upcoming book. With this kind of pre-order bonus, it's just incredibly crazy to me, in my opinion. I am always supportive of authors getting the money they earned from their books, always, because it is their hard work. But this is just too much. If you know that you have these extra chapters way ahead of time, you should have just include them all in your book. This gets even worse because who are we kidding here? Because we know that a lot of Sarah J. Maas readership are teenagers. That's pretty much a fact now. It is not even an opinion. I know that a lot of Sarah J. Maas readers are teenagers, and now teenagers will have to beg their parents for even more money to get 5 of the same edition just because they want the complete story of House of Cash and Grab. Now, some of you might say these are optional. They don't have to buy all of them. But let's put it this way. What if this is one of your favorite series of all time? You will want to get everything. You will want to read everything inside that world. And then there's also the argument that, you know what, Sarah J. Maas books, especially the Crescent City, are for adult fantasy readers, for adult readers. But come on, piss off. I mean, publishers know what they are doing here. They know that teenagers are some of the biggest target for Sarah J. Maas books. So all of this just doesn't sit right with me. And I have no idea whether Sarah J. Maas can be held accountable for this one or not. I mean, for all we know, this could be really the publishing choice, and maybe Bloomsbury should be held accountable for this. And I'm also pretty sure that this is not the first time it happened to Sarah J. Maas books or any other books. I know that Stephanie Galbers also have this kind of situation where each special edition will provide a different ending. So yeah, something like this have been applied several times, but I really hope this doesn't become a standard in publishing. Really hope not. Economies are really brutal right now all over the world. I'm pretty sure about that. And with the rise of special edition and Kickstarter, people are already spending so much more money on books compared to before, myself included. But I think this kind of situation is different because for special editions, something you have to remember is that these special editions usually come out a year or more after the standard edition is published. And there is something you have to consider here. These special editions, usually they have so much higher production value, interior illustrations, beautiful end papers, better binding, and more. These are better edition compared to the standard edition. And their target market is usually to those who have the means to do it. So here's what we should remember though. Even in all these special editions, if you have been following my SFF Spotlight, you will notice that very rarely you will see any of them applying a new chapter. They may be special editions, they may have better bindings, more interior illustrations, but as far as words of the content goes, they remain mostly the same. I think this is precisely because authors do not want to hide their content behind even more paywall. So those who cannot get the special editions, they can still experience the story by getting the standard edition, the full story. And I think that's really important. And even if they do include a special chapter, this is only again after the standard edition is out for a year or more. So I think that's more fair, and also this is definitely not separated across 5 special editions. Just for example here, Sanderson's Secret Projects. Sanderson attained the most successful Kickstarter campaign of all time. If he wanted to, he could have hidden all this secret project really only behind this Kickstarter campaign. So for example, if he wants, he can make them totally exclusive to the Kickstarter campaign. So those who did not back the Kickstarter campaign will not be able to access the story. But he did not do that. He still made sure that people that did not back the Kickstarter campaign will be able to enjoy the story by making sure the books are released through traditional publishing. But for those of you who don't know, the traditional published edition will not contain the better production value that the Dragonsteel edition or the Kickstarter campaign edition have. That's the only difference. But as far as content goes, like the writing and all that, minus the interior illustrations, the traditionally published edition will be the same as the Kickstarter campaign edition. Accessibility matters. And to make things even worse in comparison, these editions of House of Flame and Shadow are not technically special editions. They are again exclusive editions only because they have that single extra chapter in them. So yeah, this is just crazy to me. The publishers is really saying right now, hi, we have all the chapters ready, we will not publish them in one book. You have to buy 5 of the same edition for you to get the full story, ha ha ha. Yeah, they're basically saying that. It's just unacceptable in my opinion. And that's not even the end of the problem. Imagine if you're not a US reader. Even fans in UK and Canada, if you want to experience all the 5 chapters, the 5 bonus chapters, you will have to buy 4 more. If you're an international reader who don't live in US and UK like me, well, it will get even worse because you have to ship these books 5 times. And shipping fee, as we all know, international shipping fee is brutal. It is absolutely brutal. So yeah, this is just evil and, not gonna lie, disrespectful to readers. You are pretty much abusing readers' trust. This is the kind of thing that has been invasive in video games industry. So usually in video games, there is this thing called DLC. That means downloadable content. And for those of you who don't know, this means that you have to pay more to get that extra content. This could be a new story, a new items, a new weapons, and all that. Some DLC are okay, some DLC are even great, like the one in the games by From Software games. Their expansion are amazing, or The Witcher 3 The Wild Hunt. They are essentially new big content for us gamers to enjoy more of the game. But they are, again, huge content, at least 5 or 6 hours, or in the case of Witcher 3 Wild Hunt, 20 hours to finish. And I think that's amazing. But some DLC are pretty much like scams. So many video games, before the official release of the video game itself, have announced there will be DLC coming, and these DLC are usually not even worth it. That's why I usually don't buy video game on launch day anymore. Very rarely you will see me buy video games on launch day, unless they are games published by From Software games, or maybe a Final Fantasy. Most of the time I will not buy video games on launch date, because I will wait for the Game of the Year edition. Again, for non-gamers here, Game of the Year edition is pretty much the same game with all the DLC included for the same price that you buy the standard edition. So logically, you know what's the right thing, right? If you are patient, it's better to wait for the Game of the Year edition, because you will still get the price that you pay for the standard edition, but this time you don't have to pay for the extra DLC anymore, because the Game of the Year edition will contain all that DLC. Now, I have no idea whether Sarah J. Maas or Bloomsbury will apply this to House of Cash and Grab or not, but I don't know. I'm just not a fan of this kind of business practice. You are really saying in front of your fans, in order for you to get the full story, you will have to buy 5 of the same, not special edition, just exclusive edition because you say so. So yeah, that's pretty much my thoughts on this. I am not a fan. Maybe I'm just screaming into the void here. I really do not expect someone as successful as Sarah J. Maas or big publishing as big as Bloomsbury to change their mind and business practice on this. But I need to give my thoughts. Yes, I am not a fan, and I truly hope this does not become a standard in publishing business where things are already so expensive already. So yeah, that's pretty much my thoughts regarding the situation. Do let me know what you think about it. Do you agree with this kind of business practice? And yes, maybe tell me why, because I really don't see the merit of doing this instead of getting more profit for the publishing and for the author. And again, Sarah J. Maas is already one of the most successful authors in fantasy. Really super successful. So yeah, that's it from Salty Petrik today. As always, thank you so much for watching, and thank you for your support. Bye bye. Lastly, I want to say thank you so much once again to all my patrons who keep on supporting me.